America post the Civil War. So if a Civil War happens, what would be America post Civil War? What would be America's demographics? What would be America's religion? And what will America's culture be? So America is a very divided country, as we know. A civil war is most likely going to either be a revolution or urban versus rural or balkanization. We already talk about urban versus rural twice in two scenarios. So yeah, one day we might talk about if America balkanized into separate countries, and what if America had a revolution, which will most likely still be urban versus rural. Well, revolution, or the people versus the elites, kind of like several other revolutions in history, like the French Revolution. So, America post Civil War, it is very likely that though whoever controls the food, the army, military, the weapons would probably all win. This is all apparent because if you look at the political map of America, most of the left is landlocked as well, and mostly live in cities, which are mostly landlocked, or on rivers as well, whereas the conservatives could easily block as well, and seeds out literally most of these cities. So yeah, but now we're talking about post-Civil War. What would America be a post-Civil War country? So we would have a Reconstruction period in Civil War, similar to the first. If America was balkanized, you would have several countries, try to restore themselves. But yeah, America would go for a period of Reconstruction. And if the Republic, assuming that this is based off the scenario that we talked about earlier, the Republicans are going to win. The Republicans and MAGA Trump supporters are mostly going to win. For example, Trump supporters are mostly united. The left really is not. Some people say, but the left is united, but they really are not. The left is trying to put left basically consists of feminists, LGBT, and minority people's groups, so a lot of them oppose each other. For example, a lot of Hispanics are Christian and oppose abortion and oppose many of the stuff that the left value. And of course, Muslims and gay oppose each other, obviously. And of course, there's radical socialists and normal left individuals. So, yeah, left is not really united. The right is mostly united behind America First. It is mostly united behind America First. There is still establishmentarian, but most of the right is behind America First. It is mostly behind America First. I would be surprised afterward you would see an America First agenda be passed as well. You would see similar stuff like an immigration moratorium, a return to American values, and of course, a return of state sovereignties. I think if the Republicans win, you would see a return to state sovereignty. States having their own rights to do what they want. A loose confederation of states. And there will still be a federal central government, but it will be how America was originally founded. A small government that would be there if there was, catastrophes, but would mostly sit on the sidelines as well. And the states would have a lot of sovereign power in them as well. Well, which would make everybody happy. And yeah. But now let's talk about the future of the demography of America. So, yeah, there would likely be a post-war baby boom. Typically after wars, there is a post-war baby boom. There will likely also be a post-war baby boom in Ukraine and Russia as well. Well, for example, after World War II, there was a baby boom after World War II. And America has had a fertility crisis for a while. I think you'll see a baby boom specifically among all races of America as well. As well as the immigration moratorium to assimilate most of the immigrants, the ones that have not fled back to their countries or fled with a lot of the other Americans who fled to Mexico and Canada, they would all be assimilated to America. This would create a new unified American culture. And of course, the immigration moratorium would also help with integration of immigrants, which is something that current America, is struggling with as well. So yeah, an immigration moratorium and an immigration restriction would be enormous in America, and America going forward as well. And America would basically be similar to a country, would still be an extremely diverse country, not as diverse as a country like India or Brazil, but would still be a pretty diverse country. Yeah. And this is the current map this is reading minority group. Excuse me. Here, so this is read ethnic. Okay, this is a decent map. So yeah, America will still have a lot of diversity in its country, but yeah, you would see a baby boom among all races. I think and you'd see a religiosity boom, which I already predict would happen with or without a civil war. Since religious people have more babies, and atheists have less babies, it is inevitable that religious groups will take over America. And of course, I predict still Mormons and Orthodox Jews, Hutterites was a group of Germans in North Dakota, Mennonites, and of course the Amish to be the main groups of America in the future. As there's a baby boom, these groups will also have a baby boom as well. They have the highest fertility rates in America, which would also speed up the eventual takeover of America, and the religious takeover of America as well. Well, by around 2050, America will be a very different country than how they predicted it, because a lot of the people have fled through the Civil War, and a lot of people would probably come back to. There would probably be another large wave of immigration, mostly of people who have fled the Civil War, or people who are related to people who have fled the Civil War. Most of these people would come into America and integrate into American society as well. Considering the Civil War is mostly a distant memory at this point, most people who are fighting in the Civil War would be in the 50s. The thing is, what if stuff like life expectancy and stuff would come around? Would Americans accept stuff like life expectancy and stuff? Or would they as well? That would be a very, very interesting thing as well. But yeah. And yeah, with state cultures, I would be surprised if New Mexico, Arizona, California, and Texas still have large numbers of Hispanics. Hispanics are likely going to be one of the larger groups for Republicans or the Conservative Party in this America. I think America will still be an electoral democracy like it is now. Considering it was an electoral democracy since the country's creation, well, yeah, it will still be an electoral democracy. I think that there will be a Conservative Party and a Liberal Party. But the Liberal Party will not be like the Democratic Party, which drove America into the complete ground as well. Most Americans in 2050 there will be a new identity. Most people will mostly identify as American. Again, this will basically become a new ethnicity throughout the country. We already studied a lot of people in the South identified as American, but will start to spread across the country. As most people will continue to assimilate into into American culture. But I expect most of the country to retain the Anglo-Saxon values as well. And also, there were similar to blacks in the South in the West, Hispanics will basically become a distinct group similar to blacks in the South. This would be too surprising considering that the Hispanic immigration to America or Latin American immigration to America will leave a lasting impact in these regions that will basically be around forever. So, Latin American influence around Texas, New Mexico, Arizona, and California have always existed. For example, one of the longest groups in Texas, one of the oldest groups of people in Texas are the Tizanos, which is a Hispanic group in Texas and New Mexico. These people will likely still be in this area, and a lot of Tizanos who have fled the Civil War also come back. Some of the people who have fled the Civil War would come back. But considering that most refugees don't really leave their countries, or we have to look at Europe, for example, they would likely also reform countries like Mexico and Canada. For example, most of the refugees fleeing to Canada would mostly be white Americans of the Northeast, with, of course, some minorities in there. Most of the people going south would there would be a lot of whites and a lot of Hispanics, mostly a plurality number of them moving. But at the beginning it would be mostly be Hispanics because most of the people near the border would be people moving more, and yeah. And also, I think in this America, the illegal immigration problem would be dealt with. I think in this America, there will be strict laws for illegal immigration crossing from any country, including you, Canada. We all know you Canadians trying to take over America again. Yeah, Canada, be ashamed of yourself. Be ashamed of your maple syrup as well. And yeah, I think one day we should talk about South Africa's collapse and the eventual collapse. I think, yeah, South Africa is going to be a country that will collapse. Also, I think you'll see a spread of ethnic English also in the West as well. The Mormons have a pretty high birth rate. It has dropped in recent years, but I don't think it will drop so low or go below replacement rate. Utah is only around 59% Mormon. The drop in fertility rate has mostly been done. The drop in fertility rate with, of course, people in Utah has mostly been due to out-of-state immigrants, which are people who have been moving to the state. New migrants to the state, including Californians. Most of these people don't really have a higher birth rate than Mormons. And also because it's much more expensive to have a kid in the country. But yeah, I expect Mormons to become a majority group in Idaho, Nevada, Utah, which they already are, Wyoming, and Montana. And they'll become a large group in Colorado, New Mexico, Arizona, and California, Oregon, Washington. And the rest will be home to some of the most conservative states in the country. No, not you, California. But yeah, states like Utah, Nevada, Arizona, Montana, Wyoming, Idaho, Colorado, New Mexico are going to be extremely conservative states. You have the extremely conservative American Hispanics, which if you see the trends already going on, you'll see that the American Hispanics are becoming more and more and more conservative. And of course, you have the ultra-conservative Mormons as well. You also have the Hutterites, which will make up a large portion of the area population of North Dakota, South Dakota. And of course, in the rural parts of the Midwest, the Amish will be around 1 million people. 1 million isn't a lot, but this is the Amish we're talking about. They populate really, really fast. The population will actually be higher because of the baby boom. So that means they were expecting to reach 900,000. Now it's over 1 million. And also in a lot of farms, Amish have basically taken over rural communities. Which, yeah, most of the rural communities will be mostly filled with Amish and Amish descendants as well. So yeah, there'll be a lot more Dutch people in America because a lot of Amish people are Dutch as well. The South will mostly stay relatively the same. Yep, the South will mostly stay relatively the same. Same as well. There will still, of course, be a large black population in the South, and of course, there will still be your Southerner. Yeah, the South will mostly stay the same culturally as well. The South is a very unique, distinct area as well. And and of course, the United States, you start to see distinct regional cultures start to be created. The West, of course, the Midwest, the South, and of course the Northeast. The Northeast will continue to struggle demographically compared to the rest of the nation. There will still be a birth rate in the Northeast, but really, the Northeast is still kind of struggling compared to the rest of America. The Northeast is kind of like the place of America that people just don't care about as well, except for New York as well. And you'll see a baby boom in most of this area. The baby boom would eventually end around the 2060 to 2070, and the fertility rates would drop for a little bit. And then American religious people will take over the country. Religious people typically have more birth rate people. There would still be a large amount of atheists, around 40 to 50% of the population, but most of the American population would be Christian, which will be around 80%. And 5% other religions will make up the minority as well. This will make America a way more Christian nation as well. And also 5% of the people will be other religions like Muslims, Hindus, Buddhists, which all of them besides Muslims have increasingly low birth rates, especially considering there's an immigration moratorium to the world and increased American isolationism, which I expect America to become an isolationist country in the world. Muslims will be the largest minority group besides atheists. Yes, and still say roughly around 2% of the population as well. I expect this America to open up a bit to the world, accepting Christian refugees from the Middle East, and of course refugees from South Africa and other countries. But we'll be accepting many refugees compared to other worlds as well. But in a post-globalist world, yeah, because the globalism is dying and is at its last feet. I think a civil war would be the end of the globalist era, as well, or it would be either a civil war or a revolution, one of the two. Yeah, that's one of the two will likely happen in America. I think that America is too far gone at this point, to not have a civil war or revolution as well. But Jews will also be a pretty important part of New York, especially Orthodox Jews. Orthodox Jews have a birth rate of around 6 kids as well. Well, and it'll be a majority of Jews in the New York area as well. And also Amish communities will also be in the upstate area of New York and Pennsylvania area. And the Northeast, well, nothing changes. Northeast stays exactly the same. Nothing ever interesting goes on in the Northeast besides Bernie Sanders. Northeast will still be the most liberal part of America as well. The most conservative part of America would be the West, besides California. Yeah. This is because of the large amount of Mormons and large amount of Hispanics in the area. Yeah. California will kind of be like the New York of the West, where it votes differently than everybody else. But yeah, the West will be the most conservative area, then followed by the South of America. The most liberal area would be the Northeast. It will be the last area with liberal politics in play. And would probably be the last bastions of stuff like gay marriage and abortion in America. But also, by 2100, you would see colonization by conservatives from the South and the Midwest to, of course, the Northeast. Atheists have the lowest birth rate in America, have some of the lowest birth rates, alongside Buddhists and Hindus in the country. So, yeah, and agnostics as well. This area, is mostly atheist, which you'll see the biggest population drop off, maybe besides in Massachusetts. And then you'll see a lot of religions take over in the country. And America will be mostly a very religious country in the future. I do not think America not being religious doesn't make any sense as well. America be a mostly extremely conservative country. It'll be not like America today. America is a country that goes through phases. Currently, America is in its woke and divided phase, where the woke is even losing anyways. Also, I expect stuff like Hollywood to be mostly promoting stuff that people actually want to watch. And yeah, they'll still be making Star Wars movies in 2100. Yeah, we'll be on Star Wars 50 by now. And we'll still be getting Avengers movies and DC movies even from now. Even the complete garbage as well. Well, America will also go back to a mostly traditional society. This would be too surprising as well. And also because of the Amish and Hutterites and Amorites and Mormons, and of course white Catholics, it would be too surprising if white religious people have the most highest birth rate. Which is not too surprising given the Amish have the highest birth rate in the country. Yep, the Amish average have the highest birth rate around 7 kids per woman, which is a lot. Which is on par with the country of Niger at this current time. Since the Amish birth rate stays around the same and Amish will stay around the same, I expect the Amish by around 2100, especially around 2200, to own most of the farmland in the country. Not Bill Gates. Bill Gates will probably be dead by 2200 and 2100. But yeah, because he's like 65. He's like 65 years old. He's not gonna survive another 20 years, considering the life expectancy is only 78. I expect America's life expectancy to be like in the hundreds. This is the future we're talking about. We will have stuff like life expectancy and also promotion of natural stuff as well. Well, for example, the obesity epidemic is mostly linked to, a lot of people are now seeing it's mostly linked to seed oils. Where stuff like seed oils and high fructose corn syrup will be banned in America. America will be a very, very healthy country, an active country, except for porous people. Porous people are very, very, very lazy. Which, yes, I'm part porous myself, and I'm pretty lazy myself. So, yeah, you already have an example of a part porous person being lazy. So, yeah. But what about Indians or Native Americans? Because there are people from India still in the country. Well, Native Americans will still stay around the same population. There was a crash in Native American birth rate as well. And also you'll see a crash in the Hispanic birth rate as well, which will also mirror Mexico's birth rate as well. Yeah, Mexico's birth rate is actually expected to be below America's, because if the current birth trends keep up. But of course there will be a post-war baby boom of every race. But yeah, America will be a very, very different country. Also, I don't think by 2200 Hispanic will be really considered a race anymore. If you look at the Hispanic demographics, which are very, very interesting, the assimilated Hispanics don't even identify as Hispanic anymore, and are mostly integrated into American society. But Hispanics will mostly be a cultural group just like blacks as well. But most Hispanics will mostly identify as white by around 2100 and 2200. But will mostly be kind of like a cultural group. And it was still kind of like a small, like, for example, Africa is a very, very diverse continent. With very, very different, with many ethnicities and, of course, many languages. Africa is a very diverse and interesting continent if you look at it as well. Well, it also has some interesting histories, like the history of Ethiopia. But of course, unlike blacks, Hispanic is not really an ethnicity. It really is not. It is a cultural group. And mostly black Americans will still be a distinct cultural group in the country, hovering around 10% of the population as well. And yeah, in a post-globalist world, America will not really be receiving that much immigration. Mostly relied on native births to bolster the population. America being as a giant isolationist power that's doing its own thing. That's until, of course, China does its stupid thing and America, gets angry at China. But we'll talk about the future of China in another video because China may have an even worse power in America as well. But yeah, it seems that all roads lead that a civil war might be inevitable or a civil conflict, where it's still basically the same thing as well. Well, well, and yeah. So that would be America post Civil War, and basically the America that is of today will be vastly different. America of 2100 or the America of tomorrow will be very different. And also it does further prove that demographics usually always change all the time. For example, blacks had the highest percentage of the population in 1790. But during the 1940s, they were at the lowest proportion of the population of the country as well. I would be surprised in around 2100 when Hispanics have the lowest portion of the population in the country's history, hovering around 8 to 9%, which will be similar to the black population. Considering that we already talked about Latin America's birth crisis and the Hispanic America mirroring Latin America's birth crisis, I would be surprised if a similar thing happens as well. Well, which will see a decrease in the Hispanic American population. It is which will also mirror the Hispanic Latin American population crisis as well, which is coming in the 2050s and onward as well. Until, of course, Mexico's birth rate goes above replacement and starts gaining people again. So yeah, America will be a very, very distinctly different country than it was today, where it's completely fractured and destroyed, which further proves that a post-globalist world is going to be a more peaceful world, and a very conservative one, that. And the world will return back to its traditions and moral values, and reject wokeness overall. I really can't wait for Jaws 14 to come out in 2120. Maybe if Life Makes Sense actually comes out, we'll see Jaws 14 and 2120. That would be pretty hilarious. And also, would America colonize Mars? That would be another question as well. Would America colonize Mars? I think all the future wars will be over space, not over land on Earth, because space travel will be an inevitability. I think America will start colonizing Mars around 2050 and 2060 as well. America will still put emphasis on space travel, and the first American colonies will go on now. The future conflicts will be over space travel. Of course, this Mars colony could gain, of course, independence, which they'll probably will fight America for its independence. But yeah, the age of the Imperial America or the American Empire is over. And we're going to see America that is basically a state that is basically just a giant country like Brazil. A country that is very traditional, is also a very large country geographically as well. But now we should talk about I think in another video we'll talk about the future of a balkanized America. That'll be very, very interesting to talk about. It'll have a very, very interesting path of each American country. And also can do about another one of each 50 states became independent in the future. That would also be a pretty funny one as well. How would each state fight? How would each state do when certain states collapse? California will almost certainly collapse, but yeah. Yeah. So yeah, America would still be America would basically become an isolationist country until of course another world war happens and America gets attacked like at Pearl Harbor again, and then history will repeat itself and America will become a America will become a global superpower again. I think the global superpowers of tomorrow is not America. It is China and India, the two most populated countries in the world, as well. And it will be and of course the East African Federation. I think those three countries are the global superpowers of tomorrow. Whoa. And we can talk about the East African Federation in its future, China in its future, and India in its future. But America, I know the most about America's history and stuff because we researched it a bit But yeah, America will likely have a civil conflict in the future as well. Well, we don't know what the civil conflict will be, but it will be pretty bad as well, as Americans are more divided than ever, probably since the Great Depression, which America almost had a second civil war multiple times. Nazis almost rose to power in America and during the Great Depression as well. Well, so yeah, America, the future is summed up. America will go through a civil war, have a reconstruction period. A lot of immigrants will integrate into society, and will become a part of American culture, and create a new American culture. And yes, there will be a lasting Latin American influence on American culture, kind of like there's a lasting Italian, Black, and other culture influence and Japanese influence. Yeah, Americans being obsessed with anime will never go away. There will still be reboots in 2100 and 2200 and 2300 and the day before the universe ends. Yeah, reboots will still be around as well. Well, yeah, despite America mostly being Christian and conservative, there will still be reboots and there will still be Reddit mods. So we can make fun of them, which will be pretty funny to see. But yeah, America is always a changing country as well. And I don't know how long this America but would it collapse or would the country does not exist anymore one day as well. And yeah, there would also be no North and South U.S., where it claims Alaska is a part of South U.S., which is pretty ridiculous as well. But yeah. And so what do you think the future of America is? Do you think that America will just collapse and be like Syria, or just split into Yugoslavia? Yeah, as well. And yeah, a post globalist America will be as well. And America, the failed globalist experiment, will fall, and a new America, and of course, out of the ashes, a new America will rise. That is basically the summary of this video. That's basically the summary of this video. A globalist America will fall, and out of the ashes, a new nation will rise. A populist nation, and a nationalist nation. A nation who protect, and of course, I think America will be a very protective country over its borders. And will this new America have allies? And will be its enemies? Well, this America's allies would still be the Anglo world. The UK, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand will still be allies of this America. These countries have historically been allies of America. Another country that will also retain its old friendship would be Japan. Japan was basically saved by America. I would be too surprised if that Japan would be one of the countries that would be allies of this America. Go. Japan has always been friendly and allies of America as well. So, America being Japan's biggest ally would be too surprising in this world. And yes, America would still be allies of Israel, considering that a lot of Christians would basically do anything for Israel because, of course, it's the Holy Land. We gotta do something for the Holy Land as well. And I think America would they would just ditch Europe. And Europe would basically be ditched from America because America would be too unique to be European. America is sifting away from Europe as a whole as well. So yeah, America is sifting away from Europe. And Europe, who knows what will happen to Europe. And Europe will basically go back to its old ways. Also, I think that eventually all nukes will be destroyed by around the year 2100. Will this be again? This could be a bad thing because there will likely be mass wars again over ideologies. For example, China and Russia fighting over Siberia. There will be conquest happening again as well, and Europe might even descend into wars again. And continents like Africa might descend into chaos, literal chaos. So yeah, Yeah, so if there were no nukes, there would be no. But again, most of Europe is mostly friends. The Balkans would still be fighting though. Yeah, because the Balkans never change. They literally are gonna be the same every time. So yeah, the Balkans always are the same every time. So yeah, and also America would really try to butt into other countries' politics and other countries' cultures. I think the country now, I think the world police now would probably be either China or India. These are the two most populated countries in the world. Even after that, as well, and also the East African Federation would also be fighting. It'll be a multipolar world where the East African Federation, China, and India vying for political power in the world. After America, does it, and people at the end of 2100, people would warn of America of the past. People would warn about Joe Biden, the man who almost destroyed the nation, and also the one about the Second American Civil War. And yeah, there wouldn't really be any indoctrination in schools either, because America is teaching transfer about Christian values to its students in the school as well. I don't know if race relations between blacks and whites would improve in this America or not, but yeah, yeah. It's really up to the people if they want to improve race relations, not up to the government as well. So yeah, that's basically what this video. So what would happen after a civil war? What would America's future be? What America's demographics would be? Where's its demographics? And yeah, I'm not gonna tell people like the racial demographics of America. Go, go. But yeah, I think America would readopt also the original immigration plan of America. Go, go as well. So yeah, that is basically about the America of the future. And yeah, it will be mostly Mormon. It'll be more. It'll also mostly religious groups will take over, and yeah, America will still stay a very diverse country, but it will be mostly a very. It will be, but America will be mostly be united on religion as well. And it'll also be, and America will be very similar to a country like India, but except India does not, but except America mostly speaks English, and the immigrants have basically assimilated into American culture. The immigrants mostly speak most of the people mostly speak English, and this America would also make English the official language of the country as well, embracing its original traditional Anglo-tradition roots as well. America would mostly accept immigrants from its allies, including Canada, including Japan, New Zealand, Australia, and the UK, and maybe France and Warsaw and some European countries like Poland as well. but immigration in America, I think, will be much harder in 2100. It will be very similar to immigration as old. You have to go through hoops and hurdles, which will make it harder for non-white immigrants to go in because, of course, they'll have a harder time learning English than others, and they will have to go through a bunch of hoops and hurdles as well. Well, in this America, kind of like how it used to be in the 1920s and 1930s America as well. And also you won't really be see much nostalgia for modern woke movies as well. Yep, modern woke movies will not have very much nostalgia going for them as well, which would be too surprising because nobody likes woke movies at all. So yeah, that's it about this video. Goodbye.